2012, 2013, everybody, and I mean everybody, was trying to get some time with Chip Kelly to talk to him about his offense and the tempo and the this and the that and the little play cards with, Mr. Peanut and a Corvette and Scott Van Pelt and, Linda Ronstadt or whatever. So he was the thing. I mean, there was feature stories in Sports Illustrated and ESPN the magazine and everything. He was the biggest thing. So that guy didn't forget how to coach, for those who are wondering. You could say that they caught up to him. You can say whatever you want to say. But he didn't forget how to coach. I remember the first time I ran across Chip Kelly, he was an offensive coordinator at the University of Rhode Island? Was it? I think it was Rhode Island. Yeah, Rhode Island. University of Rhode Island. No, New Hampshire. Was it New Hampshire? New Hampshire. Maybe it was New Hampshire. I think it was New Hampshire, actually. But first time I ran across Chip Kelly was as an assistant, and he had a quarterback named Ricky Santos. Still remember him to this day. And I was still working with, what do you call it? Kansas Draft Services. And I was watching this kid, Ricky Santos, and I was looking at, the coaching he was receiving. Yeah, New Hampshire. At the University of New Hampshire. And he had a receiver name, I think his name was Ricky Ball. No, something else Ball. David Ball, maybe something Ball. But they were putting up crazy numbers at UNH. And that's when I first ran across him. And that was where I first saw that offense. And he helped Ricky Santos win the Walter Payton Award back in 2006. He finished career third all-time in passing yards with 13,212 yards, 123 passing touchdowns. His number was retired. He's in their Athletic Hall of Fame. And Ricky Santos wasn't super talented. I'm trying not to be mean. He was sort of like a less talented version of Timmy Chang, right? A guy who had touch and anticipation and was very intelligent but didn't have much of an arm. He had a cup of coffee with the Chiefs and had a cup of coffee or maybe a cup of coffee and a donut with the Montreal Alouettes, and then was with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for a second, then back with the Alouettes for about another year or so. But he was out of football as a player after about 3 years or so. And then he got right into coaching. Was at first at high school, at Bellingham High School, but now he's a associate head coach himself back at New Hampshire, Ricky Santos. So I've been following Ricky Santos' career as a coach once he got done as a player. But all that's due to Chip Kelly. All of that. Chip Kelly took that UNH offense that had been nothing to speak of, really, and made it into one of those exciting juggernaut offenses in college football. So I remember him from that point forward, and then he goes on to be an assistant at Oregon under Mike Pilati. Then when Mike Pilati steps down, he takes over and revolutionizes the world, right? It wasn't that long ago, people. And so people are like, oh, my God, yeah, did you forget? Like, really? I mean, I know people are less historically minded than they used to be, but did you forget that the whole world of football at one point was making pilgrimages to pick the brain of Chip Kelly literally just a handful of years ago? So, no, I'm not surprised, actually.
Demetrius, welcome to the show. Our frequent flyer here. You got back just in time.
Yeah, almost just in time. Delays, man, they kill me. But I apologize for being late. I'm glad to be here. This is my time of week to enjoy. So,
guys, I'll run this idea by you later on. Anyway, okay. We were talking about the Sissy Blue Boys knocking LSU out of the top 25.
Yeah.
You want to comment on that? Yeah.
So I don't know what to do with the Sissy Blue part. I really don't. My guess is he was trying to be funny, right? And when we're grown men, and when somebody just randomly, some stranger you don't know, starts talking trash to you, you gotta come back, right? So I'm not mad at him, but the reality is they give up big plays on defense in the passing game. This is real simple, right? They
running game too.
Yeah, right. In FBS, since the beginning of last year, they've given up more completions over 50 yards than any team in FBS. Yep. That is at the core of this. Now, I think Dorian Thompson-Robinson played a good game, right? He did what he needed to do. But the key is, to Bill's point, the running backs average over 7 yards a carry. If the running backs average over 7 yards a carry and you give up big plays in the passing game, like that interception by Caleb Johnson was incredible. I mean, that was important, very important.
Yep.
The statistic, and I'm a stats dude. I work in quality assurance. I've told you guys many times. I love stats. I believe in stats. I don't make decisions. 7.3 yards a carry, and you give up more big plays than anyone. This ain't hard. This ain't hard. So at the end of the day, I think that's what it is. LSU's defense has a weakness. It was tailor-made for Chip Kelly. So that happens, man. The Cincy Blue thing is still funny.
I'm telling you, take Ole Miss, people.
Yep.
Take Ole Miss and they play Ole Miss. I'm just here to tell you.
Yeah. These guys have tapes. They have tapes for sure. I'm gonna do this. I probably don't still use tape. I just aged myself. Do they still use tape?
Well, I mean, coaches will always refer to it as tape, even though all digital. But yes,
right. I remember when so like the and Bill probably gets to see these. I have a friend who can get access to all 22s, generally a week or so later. And when he told me, I'm gonna send you Lions all 22s. And I was like, oh my God, I'm special now. Right? It is a geek fest, man. You have to be special to like to watch all 20. And I do. And I'm sure Bill does, because you can pinpoint one guy, you can figure out his assignment. I'm sorry, I'm going down a whole rabbit hole on tapes and watching.
Go.
Right? Go. You can pinpoint a guy, you can figure out his assignment. Did he do it? Did he not do it? And a play, which I don't think a lot of fans get. And I was talking to a guy who hit my Twitter for my Lions podcast about a guy making a mistake in the Michigan State game. And I actually told him, no, you have to watch that play again. That guy didn't make the mistake. Another guy made a mistake. He tried to cover, and it looks like he made a mistake. And in this case, it was a guy took the wrong gap. He took the wrong gap. And it could be that simple. One guy makes a mistake, whole thing breaks down. That's how interesting football really is if you geek out on it, right? So, I'm sure they're watching film. That Chip Kelly watched a ton of film, bringing this back to where it should be. On LSU, it said, wait, they give up big plays in the pass game, and we can gash them with the run and then play action the hell out of them. And then if we make a big play and put you up 21-10 after that interception, they score a couple plays later, you got a different game now. Now you can manage that game. So I thought it was – all the stuff I heard Bill saying when I first popped in about Chip Kelly is true. Different kind of cat, unique. People have studied him, and that's you don't say that about everybody. People have studied the way he does his job. He must be good. So
now we did go through the baseball question, but
you gotta let me go back.
The stage is yours.
All right, cool. So I just said I'm a stats guy. Nothing fits a stats geek better than baseball. And
it's the stats game.
It is the stats geek's heaven, right? And for me, I've always loved what I've seen in the media. And I did on my own podcast this whole rant about the media getting lazy. One of the things they do is called recency bias. Some guy has a good year and they put his name in a sentence with Babe Ruth. I am not bashing Shohei. I looked at a few of his stats earlier, but the weird thing is in an undergrad stats class, I did a thing on Babe Ruth, right? So I immediately went like, ooh, because I saved everything on a hard disk and I pulled that thing up. You made my day. I pulled that thing up because I remember when I did this assignment, I'm a pretty good wordsmith, but I started using the word absurd a lot. I looked at Babe Ruth stats, and the word is absurd when you think about it. So what I did was, and I do love the question because it really fits the recency, the ESPN effect on sports is what I think. Because I think Shohei's hitting somewhere around 260 with 43 homers and 93, 94 RBIs. He has struck out 168 times. That's important. I'm going to get back to that. His his on base percentage, and I won't go totally geek. I really want to go advanced metrics.
Me and
Bill take over this podcast, James.
I was trying to make James understand what a 1.194 career OPS means.
Exactly.
474 career
exactly. Right. It is a number where absurd. I'm going to say the word a lot, but what I think it is. I'll just keep the basics. On base percentage is simple. How many times you come to the plate? How many times you end up on base? That one's easy. And it's basically, hits and walks, right? If you get hit by a pitch, right? How on base percentage. And then there's a almost advanced metric, but really common one called OPS. And Bill just on base plus slugging. That's a real good number. That's one of my favorite stats. That's a value stat.
Exactly.
Tells you if a guy is meaningful in his lineup. So I took 13 years in the middle of Babe Ruth's career. I took out 1925 because he played less than 100 games.
Right.
So I just took a 13-year window from 1919 to 1932. Like I said, minus 1925.
And in 1919, he was still a pitcher.
Right. So, but this question was about batting.
No, the question was about pitchers batting.
Okay, and we're considering him a pitcher who bats, right?
Right.
That's why I think I love the question because it gave me an opportunity to go back and look at Babe Ruth's stats. Which, for me, I've had arguments and on an airplane once coming from England, almost a fist fight with a guy because we were talking about greatest baseball players of all time. And I made a simple statement, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. And we don't talk baseball a lot on the crib, so I'm a little bit geeked. I will calm down, but I love baseball. I said any conversation about the greatest non-pitchers, about the greatest baseball player of all time starts at 4 because there's 3 guys, and I'll accept any order you want to put Ruth, Mays, and Aaron, but those 3 are at the top. Everybody else, you can start at 4, and I will listen to Ted Williams. I will listen to DiMaggio. You better say Frank and Roberto Clemente. I could geek out. I'm not going to do it. I think it starts at 4, and the reason is. And Bill talked about this months ago. True greatness has to encompass longevity. You have to be great for a long time to be truly great, right? When we talk about GOAT, as much as I don't like to talk about that, except for one dude, right above my shoulder, you have to be great for a long time. And we talked a few weeks ago about, I think Willie Mays went to the All-Star game in his 24th season or something really, really ridiculous, right? So just let me give you Babe Ruth's numbers. Lifetime batting average. These are ones I have. If they're wrong, this is just for those 13 years. So it's going to be slightly different than what Bill talked about. 356 in those 13 years. 356. Average 47 homers and 140 RBIs a year. Shohei right now is hitting 260, 43, and 93 RBIs. He's not going to come close to his average over a 13-year stretch. In that 13 years, his on-base percentage was 490. Essentially, half the time he came up, he's getting on base. One out of every 2 at bats, he's getting on base. And his OPS was 1.22. Absurd is the word. If you're not a baseball person, great. Don't worry about it. And some guy tried to have an argument about black players weren't playing then, and he had protection in the lineup. Okay, great. He also was playing with the worst equipment in the history of life. I mean, they weren't traveling on private planes. Some of them were doing jobs in the offseason. And oh, by the way, this dude didn't take care of his body. This guy didn't. Babe Ruth was a freak. Babe Ruth was an absurd freak, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. And just the opportunity to remind people what real greatness is. Don't fall for the ESPN okie doke. They want to mention Shohei Ohtani with Babe Ruth. That is nonsense. Do not fall for it. Babe Ruth was absurd. For like 25 years, he was absurd. And that's what real greatness is. And I would put Willie Mays and Hank Aaron in the same category. These guys were great for 25 years. Not okay for a couple years, 5-6 year window where they were better. No. They were better than everybody for 2 decades. That's just at a different level. So I saw that question and I lit up because I was like, A, I get to talk about baseball. B, I get to go back to this stats paper that I loved. And I got a 97 on the paper, by the way. And the only reason it wasn't 100 is because it was too long. Predictably, it was too long. It was only supposed to be 12 pages, and I think I was at 18. And I was like, fine, I'll take that hit. but I made my point, right? So yeah, I was hoping to talk about this. I appreciate you giving me a chance. You can't compare anybody to Babe Ruth except Willie Mays and Hank Aaron, in my opinion. And there's some great dudes that I'm not trying to slight. But when you really look at those three dudes in particular, to me, unless you're going to go Negro Leagues, and we can talk what Josh Gibson probably would have put together if everything would have fallen into place. And I don't know that his health would have allowed it. And some other guys, but there's some Negro League guys that had they been in the majors in their prime, their numbers, they'd be in this conversation probably.
Oh, yes.
There might be some guys in that.
Oh, yes.
Cool Papa Bell, Turkey Stearns. There'd be some guys, right?
Boojum, right? Judd Wilson.
Exactly.
All of our Marcel, John Beckwith, Troop.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do a whole Negro League.
And we should one day. Wait, we should.
One day I'll let you guys. I'll turn you guys loose, and I'll see what's going on.
My last statement on that is Satchel Paige said that Josh Gibson was the most talented baseball player God ever made. I will take Satchel's word for it.
Demetrius, I'm glad that you got here. There was a Michigan State player I want you to introduce us to.
Cal?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So he's affectionately known as Throwback Guy, right? This is that dude. And you've come across that. This is the dude that doesn't wear a shirt when it's 5 below zero. Right? This is that dude. He's a different kind of tough, right? So he's a red shirt freshman linebacker at Michigan State, for those who don't know. He's 6'1", 235.
Got to see him live and in person.
Awesome. That's it. He wears no extra pads. He doesn't wear wrist tape. He doesn't wear sleeves. He puts on the bare minimum regulatory, you must wear these, kid. That's it. That's all he's putting on. And it is not a shtick. It is how this kid is wired, right? And he wasn't supposed to be this, right? So sometimes, I think God shows off and weird things happen. But the people who were surprised said, look, he only played in 4 games last year as a 4 games as a true freshman last year. And I think they were all on special teams. He took a red shirt. He only played in 4 games. He took a red shirt. But last week against Northwestern, he had 6 tackles, pass breakup, and a really incredible play on a screen. Just the kind of stuff that opens your eyes when he smashed an offensive lineman into his own running back, right? He just destroyed the guy. But he's a guy who, getting back to film study, right? Jumps off you watch film, you go, wait, whoa, who's that dude? Who is that dude? That's kind of how he came across. That's how he comes across. And like I said, he wasn't supposed to be there, but it's a testament to like loyalty and hard work and being in the right place at the right time, because Michigan State had a bunch of transfers after last season. The portal got us in a lot of ways, but it helped us in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and Kenny Walker certainly helped you.
Exactly, right? Thank you very much, Wake Forest. Appreciate that. But we only had 6 linebackers coming in the spring. So he got reps. And when he got reps, he took advantage of it in the truest sense of Mel Tucker said, I didn't really recruit you, I know, but nice to meet you, kid. And he's a Mel Tucker guy. He's a Michigan State guy. You're gonna hear more about the kid. I'm early overreaction. He'll play on Sundays. Super early overreaction. He's a football player. And he's perfect for us. He will be beloved in East Lansing, Michigan, and through most of the lower part of the state. And he's a perfect Spartan. We love him.
Bill, how did you scout the young man?
Well, so most of my work is around guys who are draft eligible. But as was just mentioned by Mr. Demetrius Burgess, you couldn't help but notice, like, oh, there he is again. There's a lot of that, like, there he is again. And even beyond what he did stats-wise, he did a lot of things that were really smart. Yeah. A lot of what linebackers are asked to do don't show up. A lot of times you're asked to fill a gap, and nothing happens in that gap, but it didn't happen because you were in the right place, right? So a lot of times a zone stretch play, they're hunting and pecking, basically.
Yep.
And if you're not in your gap, Right? So just by being in your gap, you force them to keep going, to try to find another place, and then someone else makes the play because eventually they have to turn upfield, but they didn't turn upfield in your gap because you were there. So he showed that he knew how to cover. And, I mean, to be fair, they do not have a lot of dynamic pass receiving threats at Northwestern.
Yes, sir.
I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but their pass receivers are just guys. But he was great in the run game, and they do have a good offensive line. He showed he knew how to stack and shed, scrape, exchange. They even tried a little bit of – I mean, they don't have the right kind of quarterbacks in Northwestern to really run, like, read option stuff, but they tried it to, no success. So the few times they really actually run their quarterbacks was on what were supposed to have been passes, and so people were dropping back into pass coverage, and they were able to get a few things there. But it was an overmatch. The team speed of Michigan State has improved
big time,
markedly from last year. Absolutely. This team is visibly faster than last year. And Cam Hayward, who before Walker transferred, I thought was going to be the primary ball carrier, is now playing like a H-back. Yeah, which is interesting. And he's kind of reshaped his body-ish. I mean, he's still not ripped exactly.
No.
You can tell he never will be, but you can tell he's worked on it and he's dropped some weight. I don't know if he's being really well used because I don't think that's how NFL people see him. I think they see him as a short yardage goal line back.
Yep.
I guess the one good thing about the H-back stuff is you get to see him block, including actually on the line at times. So usually wham blocking, but you see him block on the move and block in line. And he's caught 3 balls or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're all, sort of, like late in stage kind of Jason Witten kind of stuff, 6 yards around. So it wasn't dynamic or exciting stuff he was doing in the back game, but he just looked competent.
Yeah.
But it's not going to really – I don't think it's going to end up helping his draft stock. Like when you're a 6-foot-ish guy and not super fast and – I mean, the thing he really, to me, in terms of building up his stock would be to be in a situation where he got to carry the ball more and showed he could pick up, blitzes and things like that in the backfield. Because teams are going to see him either as a short yardage tailback or as a full-on fullback.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I still think I'm just so intrigued by him as a player, but I think he's being a team guy. You mentioned loyalty. I think he's helping the team and so it's a little bit hurting himself in terms of draft stock.
I think it'll get it back, though. He had entered the transfer portal and then he came out. And I think that he executed at least 3 really good blocks. I think you nailed it.
Yes.
His future in the league is short yardage, probably fullback. And I think if you showed it, you can block. From a I understand the gap I'm supposed to fill and the man I'm supposed to block.
Yep.
He is already better at that. And like you said, some of it is sculpting his body and the loyalty. The team guy thing won't hurt him in the league either. Coaches love that.
Yep.
So I think you're right about Connor.
So he sacrificed. They had one receiver. I wish I'd written his name down. That impressed me. Michigan State had one receiver that
Reed, Naylor, or Mosley. Those are the only 3 dudes that start.
I think it was Mosley.
Yeah.
Mosley's the one with some speed to him, right? The other 2 are possession guys.
No. So Naylor's the one, the X, if you would.
Yeah. Okay. Naylor's
so Mosley is probably the guy you're talking about, though. Mosley had a couple of really nice catches.
Yeah.
And he is apparently a really good route runner. So,
he's a good route runner, and he's got really good body control, and he's unafraid.
Exactly.
Because the one thing I will say about Northwestern is they have the guys in the secondary were all hit. They're all hitters. They are thumpers in that secondary. And he took a couple over the middle, up the seam, and where he got hit pretty good, including by Brandon Joseph, who is by far the best prospect, probably on either team. Though he didn't have a big game because clearly Michigan State was aware of him and decided to not let him be the star of the game. They did a good job of forcing him to do the things he's not as good at. And he was also played way deeper than I thought he would. I don't know what that was about. But a lot of soft and off, which was sort of weird to me. I didn't know why they did that so much. And I don't know. Whatever.
All right, James, we broke down the Michigan State Northwestern game for you.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
threw that in there. It was bound to happen if you just let us start talking about.
Right. There was a lot of soft cover too.
Well, there's a couple games that I'm going to let you guys go in on because it was kind of interesting for the first week of college season, and unfortunately, Don's not here, but Texas, they knock off a top 25 team in their first outing. Bill,
Bijan Robinson, baby. It is going to be the Bijan Robinson show this year.
We knew it. Yeah. Go ahead, Bill.
Texas is going to go as far as our running game carries. I don't think I'm telling anybody anything they didn't know. It will not be an aerial circus. They will look like, an older version of their team this year. They're going to run the ball 32, 38, maybe 40 times a game sometimes. They want to run the football, and they're right to do that. Bijan Robinson, to me, is the best player on the whole team. Offense, defense, special teams. Yeah. And if you can get the best player in the team to have the most impact on the game, you have the best chance to win. That's just me, looking at the way I think about football. Can we get our best player to have the greatest impact on the game? Then we should do that, right? So, right? If we can do that, we can put his imprint on the game and give us our best chance. Some things that I definitely noticed, their offensive line is playing better than it did, at least, than most of what it looked last year. I'm still not completely sold on their defense. We'll see. I saw some good plays and I saw some, you got lucky there. There are moments where the other team's lack of execution kept you from seeing. Once again, you're talking about your friend in all 22. When you watch all 22, you're like, that was unsound. Ooh, you should have been lucky. You really realize how many times people are, my dad used to say, walking between the raindrops, right? How many times people get away with things they should not have gotten away with. And once again, early in the year is when it especially happens. Offenses, if you're going to make a bunch of big mistakes that offenses don't take advantage of, the first week of the year is probably the time to do it because everybody studies film, right? And people are going to realize, we had an opportunity there, we blew it. They might not miss it next time. But Texas still isn't. People love to say that we're back, because nobody loves to say we're back like Texas. Right. As far as to say that they're back, but they'll be better. I think I feel pretty confident they'll have a better record, and I think that by slowing it down, by pounding it'll help their defense, right? That's one of the things that defensive coaches love about running the ball, right? If you indeed ride Bijan Robinson the way that they should ride Bijan Robinson, he ends up with a 1,800-yard rushing season, which I think he's fully capable of. Your defense will be less likely to be getting gashed as often because they won't be as tired. There were games last year where their defense was, and you could see them in the fourth quarter, like, okay, what? Right. We played defense, and now, of course, in our day. They didn't have all this up-tempo stuff. The ball gets snapped every 8 seconds. I would have hated that. But, that stuff is nuts. I don't know how guys do it. But there were definitely games where I remember, and I didn't play that much. There were times to be like, man. There's times when a team has a long drive and they're just pounding and pounding and pounding. Even if they're not going up-tempo, at some point, because I was a strong safety, so at times I was expected to be the eighth man in the box, which was not really conducive to health. But I did because that's your job. It's like, that tight end not wasting about 51 pounds. This is going to be interesting. But, you do what you got to do. Yeah. But yes, Texas should be better this year. I would circle, or whatever term you want to use, beyond Bijan Robinson, who is sort of the obvious, to me, the obvious star of the team. They have a couple other guys who I think have a chance to break out. And predicting breakouts either makes you look like a genius or an idiot, so I usually try to be careful.
That's why I don't do it.
It's either gonna be like, wow, you nailed it, way to go. Now let me make it very clear. I was not a Hudson Card guy originally, right? I was a Casey Thompson guy initially, originally. But now I'm starting to see what they saw in Hudson Card. I'm just going to say it. What they see is Colt McCoy all over again, basically. I mean, even down to like the kind of, super Texas quarterbacking sounding name, right? Hudson Card, Case McCoy, Chase Colton. Like they all have names. You know what I mean? Like names that you would expect from the main male lead on a soap opera.
Exactly.
Like, they love that stuff. They love that stuff, right? I'm not making this up, am I? Like
you are not. It is a
right?
That's a whole podcast we can do.
Right. We just got a whole thing on that. But so I think that's what they see. I think they look at it and think, oh, we've got Colt McCoy all over again.
Exactly.
But yeah, he has a chance. They have a linebacker named DeMarvion, so I don't have to tell you he's black, I guess.
He's the opposite of everying you just said about those other names. Right?
Yes.
We all know.
Yes.
You hear his name
black.
and
He's exactly the opposite.
He's not the lead actor on a soap.
No.
Well, it may be a soap, but it's on BET. So.
Right, but right, exactly. There you go. Right, exactly. But DeMarvion Overshawn has a chance. They haven't had that guy in a while, right? That bendy, long, that guy that looks like he could be a tight end or he could be a linebacker or, but you could tell he's an athlete, right? If you know nothing else, when that guy walks past you, it's like, man, tiny little waist, super broad shoulders, long ass arms, bubble butt. Like, look at that guy. I think he's an athlete, right? That's what he is. He is that. And he's been selected to the Butkus Award watch list and deservedly so. Jim Nagy over at the Senior Bowl has already got eyes on him. He has a chance. He moves extremely well. He can play in space. He can play on the line. Freak athlete, all that good stuff. He has to be a little more disciplined at times. He loves to just go, right? Just be going. And sometimes once again, we talked about not being in your gap, not being in position. He's such a good athlete that I'm sure in high school he just would outrun his mistakes. But at the college level, you can't always get away with that.
No.
And when they start facing more teams, better teams, more disciplined teams, he'll have to, like I said, they're watching tape. I'm sure they're correcting these things, getting this stuff fixed. But I think he has a shot. Anybody jump out to you when you watched him, Demetrius?
No, I think Texas is simple. I think they believe in tradition, and I think you nailed it at the very beginning. And all the other stuff is good too. Think Earl Campbell, think Ricky Williams. They're going to ride this kid. They're going to ride this kid to death.
Yep.
Sarkisian gives his running backs to football. You can look at his numbers as an OC at Alabama or back when he was a head coach. They get touches. Sark's going to stick him he stuck him in the slot the other day. He's going to stick this kid in the slot. He's going to do whatever he has to do. And they're going to try and just go old school and say, we're all with this kid until the wheels fall off. And that's got Texas all over it. The fans will eat it up. He'll be a cult hero.
Yep.
And it'll probably work. It'll work whenever you're playing Louisiana, all due respect, because I think they were top 25. I don't know if one guy is going to be enough when you play other people. But it's very, very Texas. Sarkisian fits. Having this all-world running back fits. It's perfect for them. They're going to love it. I wish Don was here. I really do. And if he joins later, I say let's revisit this and get his stuff. He's been talking about this kid before. Don's talked about this kid a couple of times. I've heard this name come out of Don's mouth multiple times. So
we'll definitely let him revisit this if he gets here. But
I think that's what we're going to see out of Texas.
Speaking of something that we thought that we were going to see, Clemson, step up, just keep the machine rolling. But seems like the University of Georgia has something to say about that. Demetrius, your thoughts?
So hopefully we're not burying Clemson because I think it's a little premature.
I'm not burying them. They dropped to number 6, but I think in my mind, Number 6, unless we have an 8-team playoff, is still out of the championship.
Sure. They're number 6 on September 9th. We'll see where they are on December 9th. I think Clemson's probably going to
we'll also have to see where Georgia is on
correct.
December.
That's the key. That's the key. So, because I think what I have to do in these situations always is, first of all, let me pat Kirby Smart on the back, because I don't want to diminish what they did. Sometimes you look at a game, and being a Lions fan, this happens all the time, right? Week 1 overreaction. I'm going to do a podcast Sunday night, and it's going to be ridiculous no matter what happens in the game. That's just called week 1 overreaction. That's how we do it. I think that what good coaches are able to do. We talked about film. We're bringing this stuff up already. I don't want to diminish what Kirby does. Sometimes you get beat. Like, the other guys are good too. The other guys execute. Sometimes you lose. Sometimes you don't play well. And if you play that game 10 times out of 10, and you, at the end of the day, if you bring your C game and the other team brings their A game, the gap between Georgia and Clemson is not enough to overcome that. It is not.
Well, there is no gap between Georgia and Clemson.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
How do people forget how loaded Georgia is?
I know. That's the thing.
People. What happened?
I read stuff and I said, look, Georgia is not chopped liver, and I think Clemson will be fine.
They're maybe the second best team in the SEC. Yeah. Maybe. And they are literally a game preserve for 5 stars. There are 5 stars everywhere. They are stupidly loaded. They're always in the top 4 or 5 in recruiting. Georgia, as a state, is always in the top 4 or 5 in putting out football talent. Like, why would people not think Georgia would be ridiculous? Yeah.
And I think Kirby Smart is underrated. I think Kirby Smart's a really good football coach.
He's a very good football coach.
I don't think it's a shift. I think Georgia's going to start being in that conversation, and I think it's going to be tough for anybody to crack that forward, because I think you'll have a time when in Oregon but Ohio State, Alabama, and I still think Clemson's in the group, and Georgia. You could, if you had to bet an amount of money that meant anything to you, that's not a bad wager. Taking those 4 at the end of the day. Now, there's a couple of teams that might have something to say about it, but I don't think Georgia is chopped liver, and I don't think Clemson's done. I actually believe we're going to see this game again. We're going to see this game again in January, because I think they're both going to end up there, probably 3 and 4, or 2 and 4, and we might see this game, because I believe Georgia. Now, I will go out on a limb, and this is being recorded, so people will be able to come back to it, good or bad. I think Georgia's best team in the country, by the way. I think they can beat Alabama.
That's what I was going to say. Right. Georgia might be the best team in the country. Right.
My feeling is on talent, as Bill told you, with all those 5 stars, and I think they've gotten it together. I think this year might be the year Georgia wins the whole thing. I think they can beat anybody. They play their game, they can beat it, including Alabama. And
to me, the only thing that concerns me is JT Daniels. If he stays healthy, they've got a chance to beat literally everybody on their schedule. Exactly. This is not a thing about Clemson doing something wrong. They're playing one of the best 3 or I think top 3 teams in the country. Yep. I mean, there's no reason to hang your head. The only thing that concerns me about that game is how David John Uiagalelei, at times looked more like a freshman than in the games we saw when he was a freshman. Right. He seemed to be like the game was moving too fast, like he was not recognizing certain things. He definitely got fooled by some of the things he saw coverage-wise.
He did.
Big time. So if you're looking for one thing to hit on, that's the thing. And their offensive line is not good.
Right. But I just think more than it is. I walked away from that game saying, oh, wow, Georgia is even better than I thought they were.
Oh,
I thought they were one of the 3 best teams.
I think there's 4 guys in the top 50 and 3 guys in the first round on Georgia.
Yeah. Georgia's just really good. That's what it is. So your answer to your question might be yes. Kirby Smart in Georgia might be the new sheriff in town. That actually might be a really good question.
But it's not because Clemson did anything wrong. They just ran into one of the best teams in the country.
Happens, yeah.
No. Like I said, it's not always. Sometimes the sheriff just gets a little old, or maybe that was the C game. But a gentleman, even though it's not on the questions, there was a game that I watched, of course, and I was disappointed, but I was also thrilled at the outcome. And that's the fact that my Buckeyes won, but the fact that they gave up 31 points on defense.
Yep.
Kind of concerning to me. Bill, your thoughts?
That's going to be, get used to it, James. I don't know what to tell you. So I've studied this team, and the past few years, they've always had that one guy that's a definite first-round pass rusher.
Yeah.
They do not have that guy. I've looked for him. He's not on the team. At least not yet. I mean, who knows? Maybe the light switch comes or whatever. They have a couple of guys on defense that will definitely play in the NFL. Don't get me wrong. But not the guy we were thinking, oh, this guy has a chance to go in the top 10 or the top 5 or the number for an overall or whatever. That guy isn't on the team. I mean, there's nobody like in either of the Bosa brothers or Chase Young on that defense. They have a couple of interior guys that are solid mid-round players. Some of their young, less developed pass rushers have ability, but none of them are that guy yet. And in their secondary, once again, they have a couple of guys who are going to play in the NFL, but they're still, once again, not that guy. We go, oh, that guy's a definite first rounder. So their defense isn't as talented, or isn't as, I mean, not saying not as talented. It's not, the talent isn't ready, is probably what I should have said. There's nobody right now who's ready to be a guy who takes over games on defense. They don't have that guy right now.
Right.
They may have him on the roster, but he's not that guy yet, right? He's not playing yet because they're starting him, and for whatever reason he's behind somebody who's not as good, and maybe he'll emerge later. Somebody gets hurt, whatever it is, he gets on the field, or maybe he just beats out the guy who's ahead of him later down the season, and we get, oh, now they got that guy. I didn't see him before. Where was he? Oh, he wasn't playing before. Maybe that's the situation. Who knows? Maybe the guy just develops, gets better as the season goes on. But right now, that guy that can turn what I call tilt the field. The tilt the field guy on defense isn't there right now, or at least isn't playing like that right now, or he isn't getting playing time right now. But your offense is going to be fine for the most part. Now, you do have a very young quarterback. I mean, one of the youngest. There's not too many guys younger. He's one of the youngest quarterbacks in all of FBS. So he's very new. This is all very new to him. He's going to make mistakes. This is not, once again, not the first time, not the last. And he wasn't playing a great defense yet. So I can see why you'd be a little concerned by some of the mistakes he made. But that team, that offense as a whole is going to score points, period. Yeah. They're going to score points on people. Right. There's a couple of teams that might give them a little bit of trouble, but they're going to score points at everybody. Iowa will probably present some challenges.
Indiana might give them.
And obviously, Indiana doesn't have quite as much talent as they had last year, but they do play a lot of interesting stuff we'll see. At least last year they did a lot of interesting stuff in their coverages. I will see if they're doing the same, because I noticed Northwestern suddenly got all boring and plain.
I know. I thought so too. Yeah.
But whatever. But yeah, Ohio State should be fine most of the time. There might be 1 or 2 games where they're up against a team that is able to exploit the few weaknesses they have, and then they'll be in a real dogfight.
Yeah, I think I agree with almost everything. He didn't leave me a lot, put it that way, because I agree with just about everything he said. So I think Oregon could be fun. Fun, right? Oh, yeah. Anthony Brown, I like Anthony Brown. He didn't play great against Fresno, but I like him. I like what the problem is. You got to outscore Ohio State. And I don't know if Oregon's got enough to outscore Ohio State. They're 12th in the country. They're not chopped liver, as we've said about many teams. But I think that Ohio State's going to put up numbers. just like how you capitalize one word, all caps, numbers. And so the problem is going to be that. I think they're going to be fine, to Bill's point, for all the reasons he said. I think that the quarterback's going to get better. I think they have talent, and that helps, right? So I think Oregon might be a fun game for a quarter and a half, maybe into the third quarter. And then all of a sudden, Ohio State will put up 3 straight touchdowns, and it'll seem like a blowout. And that's how a lot of their games are going to look. Yep. The guys will play with them for a quarter and a half. And a coach told me very, very early, Little League baseball. Look, the difference between good teams and great teams is everybody's good at the beginning, because nobody's tired, right? Great players are still great in the fourth quarter. Yep. Good players are not good in the fourth quarter. That's the actual. That's why talent is a differentiator. Everybody at that level is pretty good when you first start. How you play and his focus, his concentration is not just fatigue. It's all of that stuff. And we've talked about guys' assignments and gap control and all of these things that have a lot to do with focus and concentration. And that's where teams fall off in the fourth quarter. Ohio State is very, very talented athletically. They're well coached. And quite frankly, they're just better. They're more talented than everybody in the Big Ten.
They're still the most talented in the Big Ten. And it's
they're
not
the most talented. And I hate saying that, but it's just true. Now, the reality is, we also have mentioned more than once, if you bring your C game, there's teams that can beat you. Now, this game, if this game was at Autzen Stadium, I like Mario Cristobal, actually. I still don't know that I could pick Oregon to win the game. It would take an Ohio State C game at Oregon for me to consider it. Indiana is the one
would have to
help Ohio State.
I mean, he would have to have the best passing game of his life, the best rushing game of his life in the same game.
Exactly. And you know what? Yeah, that's what it would take. He would have to play literally the best game of his career. I'm waiting for the Indiana game because I think that could be a festival. That's the word. That could be a offensive record book festival. Because I don't love Ohio State's defense. It might be better by the time they get Indiana.
Right.
There's going to be points in that game.
Yeah. The thing that gives me pause about Indiana is they got so much help in certain places. They aren't getting that help at least right now in this season. Michael Penix didn't look right, quite frankly.
Yeah. He has to get better. He can't play like that.
I'm assuming that's one. I don't think he's going to play like that again. I think that was one game on first season. I don't know, first game of the season, whatever. But he didn't look right. He just didn't look right.
Yeah.
Their offensive line did him no favors also, and there were some drops. In fact, one of the interceptions was a ball that hit the receiver right in the hand.
Right in the hand.
Right in the hand. So
you can't help Ohio State. They're better than you already. Don't help them by doing that kind of nonsense.
Right. Yeah. When their second string players are more talented than your first string player, you definitely cannot help.
You're at a disadvantage.
You're right. You are at a significant disadvantage. The reason they gave him so much trouble last year is, once again, we talk about coverage. They were able to make their zone look like man, their man look like zone. They were to make their cover four look like man. They did all kinds of really interesting, fascinating things. They would jump into quarter, half when you thought it was man. They jump into man when you were sure it was going to be cover two. Like, they did an amazing job of disguising coverage. And I once again, I haven't seen all 22, and I obviously wasn't physically there for that game, so I couldn't tell that. That's the other thing about watching a game on TV is, unless you are super lucky, it's hard to tell, especially with the safety rotations, what the heck a defense is doing. You can often tell what an offense is doing, because that's what they tend to focus the cameras. No love for defense, obviously, or they don't care.
It's always all about the offense. But anyway.
Well, that's why I love when they do during the playoffs, when you get the alternative, whatever, and you can do like the coach cast and stuff like that. It's like, finally, I get an overhead or in angle. And all I'm doing is watching safeties, because I'm a sick
geek channel.
But
yeah. Well, let's talk a little NFL, guys. I was fascinated by athletic. They call it the athletic top 5.
Yep.
And they had Tom Brady number 1, Jerry Rice number 2, Lawrence Taylor number 3, Jim Brown number 4, and Reggie White is number 5. Now, my top 5 will probably show my age a little bit here, but I have Jerry Rice number 1, Lawrence Taylor number 2, Jim Brown number 3, Walter Payton number 4, and Barry Sanders at number 5. So, Demetrius, give me your top 5.
So my top 5 will show you where I was born and raised. So we'll set that right up.
Finally, Mel Farr gets his due.
I got Lim Barney number 1, Mel Farr number 2. No, to me, Jim Brown is number 1. Jim Brown. If there was a conversation about greatest athletes, period, of all time, Jim Brown's in that conversation. Right.
Sure.
Maybe with Jim Thorpe and
a guy who shows up to a lacrosse practice and suddenly is the star of the team.
Exactly. Right. With like I said, Jim Thorpe and Jackie and some others. So Jim Brown's number 1. I think Barry Sanders is number 2. And I know that's a bias, and I don't really give a damn because you let me get on the podcast. What I would say to you is, simply put, we have never, ever seen anyone else like him. I challenge you to tell me the guy that reminds you of Barry Sanders, because that dude doesn't exist. You could maybe say some degree of Earl Campbell, but he wasn't as fast as Jim Brown, right? Walter Payton probably wasn't as strong as Jim Brown, probably fast. Jim Brown was phenomenal. That's why I'm going
to disagree with you on that one. So Walter Payton, at his fastest, where he was ever timed. I mean, once again, people don't care as much about 40s and those things, but I've talked to scouts who timed him. He ran 4.55 when they timed him at went on his campus. This is back before and the combine existed, but I don't know if he was at the combine. But for some reason, the scout I was talking to actually went to Jackson State and timed him. Timed it at 4.55, and that's a hand time, not electronic. Jim Brown, when he wanted to, and so one year they got Bobby Mitchell on the team.
Wait a minute, hold on, Bill. Let the beach.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's cool. It's cool. So, and I meant faster than Barry. I didn't think he was faster than Jim Brown. And he might not have been faster than Barry. I don't know. So 1, Jim Brown, Barry Sanders number 2, Jerry Rice is number 3 for me. Tom Brady is 4, and then you can't discount the rings. Tom Brady, again, my whole greatness longevity speech from earlier in the podcast has to apply. And Lawrence Taylor revolutionized an entire side of the football. I mean, truthfully, Lawrence Taylor revolutionized how you play defense in the National Football League. And all love and respect to Reggie White, and Walter Payton and a bunch of other guys, but it's Jim Brown, Barry, Jerry Rice, Tom Brady, and Lawrence Taylor for me.
Okay, Bill.
So once again, it's going to be a bias fest, but a different one, because it's not biased around a certain team. It's biased about how I always believe that people overrate offensive players and underrate defensive players. So my number is David Deacon Jones. You talked about somebody who changed football forever. So the person who coined the term sack, the person who made pass rushing sexy, and suddenly showed people that as the game was moving towards passing, that if you didn't have that change the game pass rusher, you were going to pay for it. You were going to wish you had. You were going to realize, oh, that guy's important. We need one of those. Then Jim Brown second, because, we talked about with Babe Ruth, Jim Brown's numbers are stupid. His Brown's numbers make absolutely no sense. For him to go into boxes, 9-man boxes sometimes. There were teams that were like, if they beat us passing the ball, fine. But we're not letting Jim Brown beat us. We're going to play 9 in the box. I remember watching this. I got a whole game one time from about 1961 or 62 against the Steelers. And the Steelers were bad, but their defense was actually pretty decent. And they literally took both safeties and moved them to about 6 or 7 yards from the line of scrimmage, had their linebackers walked up into the gaps and just said, beat us throwing the ball. And they didn't. They still ran the ball. And Jim Brown, there's one play where Jim Brown got hit by, it seemed like every single Steeler, and he still scored on them. He ran over every player on their team, it seemed like, at one point. There's this one touchdown against the Steelers in that game where it seemed like I think literally every player on the team, on the defense, hit him and they couldn't stop him. He was a god amongst men. And I keep imagining what, with modern nutrition and weight training, what the hell Jim Brown would look like.
Yeah.
And I wrote an article one time about what would happen if Jim Brown were born, 40, 50 years later. And I said he would have been 247, 248 pounds by the time he left college. And I always wonder if somebody would have tried to convert him into something else, because people forget how tall Jim was too. Yeah. Jim Brown was tall, darn near 6'3". I wonder if somebody would have said, we can't have, you're too tall, you're going to hit too much. He would
have been Lawrence Taylor. He would have been a stand-up outside linebacker. He would have been Lawrence Taylor.
So one year when Bobby Mitchell beat him, because the first team to time everybody in the 40 was the Browns. Paul Brown sort of invented the 40-yard dash. And he was the fastest player on the team for a few years until they drafted Bobby Mitchell. And Bobby Mitchell was a 9.4 100-yard dash guy, but a hurdles champ and a sprint champ in college at Ohio State. He came in and dusted Jim. Well, Jim wasn't having it. So the next year he comes in light. He cuts a bunch of weight. He runs more. And he kept racing Bobby Mitchell until he could tie him. Then he could live with that because he's like Michael Jordan. He could not be at least tied for the fastest on the team. And my understanding is that Bobby Mitchell was a guy that could run 4.45, but probably was down about 4.48 after he kept having to run over and over again. Jim, so when properly motivated, Jim Brown could run about 4.48. So that's my Jim Brown 40-yard dash story. My number 3 is Jerry Rice. My number 4 is Barry Sanders, and my number 5 is Johnny Unitas. Because as great as Tom Brady has been, I think Johnny Unitas could do all those same things if, one, he actually got coached. But let me rephrase that. But you understand that when Johnny Unitas arrives, once he wins the starting job, he's essentially the offensive coordinator. He and Weeb Eubank would talk about things. They would sort of talk about what the other team wanted to do. And, so when Shula comes in, when Eubank moves on to the AFL, they butt heads because Don Shula wanted to coach him. And at that point, Johnny had been around the block a few times, and he would say, no. He would send plays back. He was like, nope, we're not doing that. And so So Don Shula, one time when he finally realized, like, I'm going to have to just let Johnny Unitas be Johnny Unitas, he had tried to send out the place kicking team on a fourth and short late in the game, and he was going to try to go for the tie. And Unitas called timeout and kind of pulled him away from the other players so they couldn't hear him cussing, dog cuss him, call him everything but a child of God, and said, "Don't you ever do that to me again." And this is when Don Shula was the Wunderkind. He was the youngest coach, maybe in the history, or one of the, not the history, but one of the youngest, one of the 3 or 4 youngest in the history. I think he was 32 or something crazy, something like that. Really super young. Unitas, I think, was actually a year or two older than Shula.
That's great.
And so,
sit down, kid.
And so at that point, he sort of put him in his place. So you have to remember that he's calling all his own plays. No one's signaling anything into Johnny Unitas. No one's in his helmet. Johnny Unitas is running it. He's even more than Peyton Manning did, right? I mean, Peyton Manning, but a step above. There's no Tom Moore. There's no whoever it is saying, "Hey, Peyton, do you like this?" Or "What about that?" Johnny Unitas going solo. And he's inventing things. He's inventing things that we still use today. 2-minute offense, Johnny Unitas, right? There's all these things that Johnny Unitas created. So as great as Brady has been, I have to give credit to the guy that allowed Brady to be Brady, because he changed everything about the quarterback position. Yeah, and you wouldn't have Tom Brady. You wouldn't have Peyton Manning unless you had Johnny Unitas.
That's your favorite. Yeah.
That's 5. That's 5.
Okay, good. I'm done.
All right, gentlemen. Let's do what I always call my way too early to predict. But it's always fun.
Let's do predictions that are way too early to predict. Love it. That's awesome.
All right, let's start with the NFL execs say that Josh Allen will be this year's MVP. Agree or disagree? Demetrius?
Yeah, I'm going to disagree. I think that they love him right now. They really do. And there's a lot to love. So that is often a quarterback-centric award. I don't know that we're going to break that. I'm going to be a homer again. I guess I'm still kind of a homer, but I think Matthew Stafford's going to do some ridiculous stuff. Josh, I mean, it should be Patrick Mahomes should be the guy, right? Because he's going to do ridiculous stuff because that's what he does. It's probably going to be someone like when Lamar won it, we didn't expect it. When Mahomes won, we didn't expect it because I think people have some expectation of Stafford, but I think he's going to exceed that. So Josh Allen's not a bad choice because they're just sort of projecting that, hey, this is the trajectory is the word I'm looking for that he's on. This is where he's supposed to take that step to MVP level. So I don't mind that pick. I just I'm going to homer it out and call a long shot and say Matthew Stafford's going to be the MVP of the league.
Bill?
Sometimes when somebody's about to dump you, they decide to get in the gym and eat right and wear outfits.
I love how this started. I love how this started. Go ahead.
And wear outfits that make you realize what you're missing. So Aaron Charles Rodgers is about to put on a slinky dress, is about to get hair done, nails done, feet done, all of that. It's going to be a revenge redemption tour. It's going to be all of that. And because, once again, the pettiness of greatness, the greatness of pettiness, you're going to see him walk out that door having the best year of his career yet. Because he wants to make them feel it. You realize how extraordinarily petty a human being this is.
Yes.
Oh, it's going to be gloriously petty. I cannot tell you. I'm thinking 5,000 yards isn't out of the question, but at least 4,500. 4,500 is the floor.
With that extra game, I don't know if 500.
With that extra game, 5,000 is very
5,000 might be doable. Yeah.
Right, very much in play. I wouldn't be surprised one iota if he flourished with 50 touchdowns. I wouldn't be surprised if his touchdown to interception ratio is something just off the charts, like 47-3, 47-5, like ludicrous stuff. Like stuff like doesn't seem possible. Stuff that you'd be proud if you did in your Madden franchise, right? Stuff that'd be like ludicrous things, crazy things, insane things.
I've got to say, in 8 months on the crib, I've never done this, but every now and then you just got to go, okay, I'm wrong. I missed it. He got me. He's so right now. It's scary. Take as much time as you need. The more he talks about it, I'm like, damn, I forgot about Aaron Rodgers. That's exactly it's going to be 51 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
It's going to be off the charts.
51 and 8. 51 and 8.
And watch this. When he's in against the best teams, the teams that people think are the most trouble, he's going to be at his best. Yeah. He's going to dial it up, special. Yeah. So what those games that people are circling as tough games on this schedule, wrong. Whatever. He's going to be so amazing. The people like Chris Collinsworth and whoever, their heads are going to explode. Like, oh my God, I thought he might be. I've never seen him like this before. He's getting outside the pocket. He's running with the ball. He's doing everything. It's all going to be on display. All the stuff that you thought he couldn't do anymore, he's going to do all of that. And then he's going to pack his bags and sashay away.
Well, I did pick him for my fantasy football quarterback. So,
that would be extremely smart.
Even though there was a lot of guys, ahead of him, I thought about the revenge tour as you were talking about, Bill.
Oh, yes. The revenge redemption tour?
Revenge redemption is it. That's it. We're going to say that a lot.
There was a question before we went on the SPORTSKRIB about whether or not J.J. Watt was going to get paid. Now we know that TJ, he is going to get paid. Steelers came up with the right amount of cash, and NFL executives had already predicted him to be the defensive player of the year. Bill?
I mean, I'd love if that happened, obviously, and I do believe that Trent Jordan Watt is going to have a very nice year, but it's so hard to pick that, especially, it's so, when everyone sees you coming, we just talked about this, right? What do you do in your meetings as an offense? You say, that guy is not the guy we're going to let beat us, right? That's the guy we're not going to. Now, some people are Aaron Donald, and it doesn't matter, right? It's like you spend all that time game planning for Aaron Donald, and he shows up, and then it's, oh, crap, he's still Aaron Donald. That guy's special and different, and I'm never going to bet against him, frankly. Aaron Donald's always going to be, until I otherwise notify you, I'm penciling him in just automatically. But I'm going to give you one other guy to think about, and it's hard for DBs to win, but I think Xavier Howard still feels disrespected on some level. I think he's going to lead the league in interceptions again, which rarely happens. Once again, just like we talked about, if people game plan, it's like, well, okay, he picked us last year. He's not getting us this year, but he's going to find a way. He's going to lurk. He's going to be doing some robber stuff, showing up places he's not supposed to be. I think he wants to make people realize that as great as Jalen Ramsey and whoever else is, he wants to be mentioned at the top of the top of the top. I'm not picking him, but I'm saying watch out. I'm still rolling with Aaron Donald until there's some reason to not roll with Aaron Donald.
See, now I got to come up with something else, right? Because at the end of the day, that's it. It is. He did it to me again. It is that simple. Until otherwise notified, Aaron Donald's the best defensive player in football. I think the Xavier Howard pick is great because money is a hell of a motivator. Mm-hmm. Only second behind unadulterated pettiness. Right? Yes. After pure pettiness, like that really tart lemonade Kool-Aid, as much as it tastes like lemonade, there's something just a little bit more about the Kool-Aid version of lemonade that you have to have. And Aaron Rodgers has got it in spades. So pettiness is huge, but I want to get and part of that is Xavier Howard. He thinks he's the best corner in football.
Yep.
He most definitely wants to be paid like the best corner in football. Those two together, that's actually not a bad choice. But I'll take anybody with the last name Bosa and feel fine that they might do it. If they run out Jimmy Bosa, some little brother that just came up through an HBCU somehow out of Hampton and Bill missed on his scouting report, little Jimmy Bosa. I'm taking anybody last name Bosa to consider for this. Truth be told, this is Aaron Donald. Unless he gets hurt, this one's tough. I mean, I got a whole lot for the other awards. I'm sorry. Bill said it. Until otherwise notified, Aaron Donald is the most dominant defensive player in this game.
Okay. Micah Parsons. He wins Rookie Defensive Player of the Year.
I get that one first? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I like Micah Parsons. I'll say that. He's not my choice. I don't really love the Cowboys, but that's not even it. My honest belief is Patrick Surtain's going to be a really good corner right out of the gate. But I think that edge rushers can make an impact as rookies, right? Talented edge rushers. Yep. And so there's a kid in Miami named Phillips, Jalen Phillips. I really like him. Now, back at the draft thing, I also talked about Zaven Collins, and I believe if Arizona uses him correctly, I think it's tough reward for linebackers though, unless you're Khalil Mack. My which I don't know if he won Rookie of the Year. I think my choice is Jalen Phillips, the edge rusher from Miami. I think he's going to have. First of all, I think Miami's going to be really good. I think defensively, Miami's going to be really improved, and Brian Flores is taking the bullets while they were building this thing. He's taking the bullets. He's about to get the flowers. He's about to start getting flowers now. And I think that was a really good pick. I think it's a really talented player, and I think he can make an impact. Micah Parsons might get it strictly on the strength that he's got a star on his helmet, and that kind of stuff happens. Whatever. But I think Jalen Phillips is going to be really good, really fast, and I just like Pat Surtain. I like them. I like Patrick Surtain all along. Had I not absolutely loved Penei Sewell, I would have wanted the Lions to get Patrick Surtain. Pair him up with I'm not going to go on a Lions thing. Jeff Okudah is going to bounce back for the record. But I like Phillips and I like Collins. Those are my two choices.
Bill, who wins your Rookie Defensive Player of the Year?
I'm going to give you two names. My number one is Azeez Ojulari of the Giants. I think he gives them what they haven't had in a very long time, that really, truly twitchy, slinky, bendy, slidey pass rusher. That guy that, they haven't really had that guy in a while, right? He's not quite, Von Miller, but then who is? Von Miller is first ballot Hall of Famer. Right. He's more like, remember when DeMarcus Ware was there with the Cowboys, but they had that other guy on the other side named Anthony Spencer? Yep. He's going to be more like that guy. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if he comes up with 7 or I guess the extra game, even 7.5 or so sacks as a rookie. The other guy I'm going to give you is Jamin Davis of the Washington football team. First of all, it's a really good defense. And the defense, since the defense as a whole is so good, it will give him a chance to be in a sort of lower pressure environment in that you don't have to be perfect. We can afford to play you even if you make the occasional little mistake because we have guys who can sort of cover it up. But he's flashed a lot in camp and even a little bit in the preseason.
He's been inside in the 3-4, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he's a really good blitzer. He can cover. He's physically strong. He's 240-something plus pounds, but can really run. I think he has a chance. But the guy I'm going number one is Azeez Ojulari because people pay attention to sacks, and I think he's going to lead the rookie group. I love Jalen Phillips too. Those are two. If I hadn't picked Ojulari, I probably would have picked Phillips. But since you picked Phillips, I decided not. We can't agree on everything.
Exactly. So you got to make it interesting sometimes.
But I like those two guys. But yeah. But I do believe it'll be Ojulari just because I think he's going to play a lot of snaps because you need him to.
Okay, Bill, Saquon Barkley will be the comeback player of the year.
That's another tough thing to project. But, my money's on Derwin James, to be perfectly honest. Once again, because they don't like safeties anymore, he might not get it. But Derwin James is about to have a ridiculously good year at safety. So my pick is Derwin James. Now, he might not get it, but I bet you he'll deserve it. If Saquon Barkley gets it, he's a very nice young man. The NFL loves him. He plays in New York. I can see it happening. But the most deserving, in my opinion, I believe, will be Derwin James.
Demetrius.
So we're going back to the nonsense. I don't have anything else. I think it's Derwin James too. So I didn't think he was going to say Derwin James because oftentimes this award becomes dude who got injured last year, comes back, has a full healthy season, and puts up the numbers that warrant. So you could say Dak, you could say Christian McCaffrey, maybe even a Joe Burrow. You could, and it's certainly Saquon's lose. I think the best comeback, most impactful player, help his team win. I was totally prepared to give a whole dissertation on Derwin James. So yeah, I got to keep it. It's going to be boring right now because Bill's right again. It's Derwin James.
Great minds.
Right. I agree. I feel vindicated to a degree.
Okay.
Oh my God, Derwin James is so good.
Then we'll let you have this one, Demetrius. Kyle Shanahan wins Coach of the Year.
So I'm gonna take a little time. So excuse me, but I'm gonna take a little time because I had to think through this one, right? And so this award, similarly, I don't think it's Kyle Shanahan's award because I believe the award is often given to a coach of a team with low expectations that exceed their expectations, right? If the Lions could win 8 games, Dan Campbell might get this award. Right? That's the kind of thing it's going to be. He's not. I'm not crazy. He's not. William Steven could get it. William Steven III could get this.
Oh my God, yes.
Because this is right for him. If they come out and go 13-3, somehow win the AFC East, that award's going to Foxborough. It'll be in amongst all of them. That neither of those guys are my choice. So a lot of it is me trying to figure out what is this award really? Is it the best coach? I don't think it's the best coach. And I think the people who said that are saying they think Kyle Shanahan might be the best coach. I don't agree with that either, but I don't think that's what it is. I actually think that the best coach is the guys you root for, and he can't get love no matter what. He is my dark horse candidate because their expectations aren't good, and they might still end up winning 10 or 11 games, and then you're going to have to give the award to Mike Tomlin. But my choice is actually a guy named Brandon Staley.
No!
My choice is Brandon Staley. I think they're going to exceed expectations. And first year guy, I believe Cleveland's guy won it last year, right? Stefanski. So the expectations on a first year guy are often very low, even if he comes to a good team, which I think the Chargers are. So I think the Chargers are going to compete. I don't love Denver as much as others. I think the Chargers are going to give Kansas City a run. They'll make the playoffs, maybe not win the division. Kansas City's really good, but I think the Chargers are going to be a good team. I think Brandon Staley is my choice for the award.
Gronk gets another TD.
Really?
That's his second, right? I think that's his second.
Wow.
Yeah, Gronk gets another TD.
Should have drafted
Bill.
He's gonna go to his plan B, Bill. Plan B.
Just right. Just to spice your show up, I guess I won't go with the person I was going to say. So I'm going to quickly call it audible. Go with, but as he said, my plan B. And my plan B is Matthew Kenneth Rule. I think that the Carolina Panthers are going to have a dramatically better year than they had last year. Not quite to the extent of the Chargers, who are the team that I've been loudly touting as a team that's going to be a playoff team. But they're going to be dramatically better than they were last year. So while they may not reach the same heights as the Chargers, I believe they're going to have a maybe 4 or 5 game swing in terms of wins and losses over where they were last year. So my first choice, you just already heard. So I'm going to go now with Matthew Kenneth Rule. I think that that's going to be a much better team for a bunch of reasons. I think Sam Darnold finally starts to show why it is that people thought he was going to be a good quarterback. I think that that's partially because they're going to not ask him to do as much as he's being asked to do before with the Jets. They're going to run the football, and not just with McCaffrey. They've got a running back group, right? That even if McCaffrey doesn't come all the way back or doesn't have the ludicrous year people are expecting, they've got some other talented running backs on that team. And they're going to get the ball to their running backs in the running game, in the passing game, not just McCaffrey, all of them. I think that's going to be a much better team. I think the defense is going to be better. So my second choice is Matthew Kenneth Rule. But as you know, man, I once again,
it's hilarious. It's awesome. It's kind of fun.
So smart. We're going to agree a lot.
I agree. That's what I always say. Look, I know I'm cool. If Bill is saying my answer before me, I'm good. I'll adjust and say something else, but I'll feel good about it.
Right.
Bill, will any team forfeit a game due to COVID?
I'm going to say no. There'll be some teams that will definitely not have the roster they thought they would a few times. But do you understand how badly teams, what kinds of crimes against God and man a team will commit before they'll just forfeit a game? Do you understand what they would do before they would do that? I don't know how to best to explain it. You will see street free agents get signed and play 3 days later before they do that. You will see begging guys to come out of retirement before that happens. You will see guys, quality control coaches who are young, be asked to activate themselves as players before they do that.
Demetrius, we got 93.7 of the players and 99% of the staff, all being vaccinated. Do you think any team will forfeit?
No. This league is not going to let that. They are. You see the extent they're going to now. And quick sidebar, I had thought that slinky, twitchy, bendy was going to be the phrase of the day until I got crimes against God and man. but they're both very accurate. You're right. The 90+% vaccine. I think the few outlier clowns like Cole Beasley will start to get pressure from their teammates. That's how you do this. The league has put in some ridiculous stuff. Like if you forfeit a game, not only do you lose money, the other team loses money. What? What? No. So I don't think we're going to have, I think we'll get one of those sort of, okay, we'll push you to Wednesday morning, and then that's it. Then they're dropping the hammer. The next team, they're dropping hammer. Because this league, they know how to do this. This is a business. And like Bill said, crimes against God, man, I could probably get on a roster. If the Lions needed me and something went down, there was a breakout, I'm lining up at corner. I'm giving up all touchdowns, but I'm lining up. I just want to wear Lynn Barney, Billy Sims, and Barry Sanders' number and line up at corner, and I'm going to play deep, like deep. But the game will be played. To answer the question, my short answer is no. They will not.
Yeah, they'll find a way to play every single game, James. I promise you that. Take that to the bank.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of the bank, Demetrius, who's going to be the first coach fired?
Oh, so I thought about this one, and one name jumped out immediately, and I kind of want to like not say it to see if Bill says it, except I'm not doing that. So I considered, what if the Bengals start slow? But it seems early for Zach Taylor. It seems like he deserves more time, right?
Yeah.
I considered, what if things aren't going well in Denver? But they had a good defense. I don't know if Vic Fangio is going to get fired because, the quarterback situation isn't really resolved. Can you hold if the defense is top 5 or 6 and they're in games, you can't fire Vic Fangio. So the obvious answer is Matt Nagy, right? Chicago, he's been on the hot seat. The expectations in Chicago, and he's got a quarterback controversy. So it's like a perfect storm of perfect storm of shit that could get Nagy fired, right? Because they might start slow. The expectations are more than they should be. And you got a built-in quarterback controversy because there are people. If Andy Dalton throws like an incompletion on his first pass, like a receiver drops it, they're blaming Andy Dalton. They're looking for a reason to get Justin Fields in the game. And the Bears are going to try and be smart, let Dalton play the first 3, and then drop Justin Fields on my Lions game 4 because that's the smart thing to do. Let his first game be against the Lions. I'm going to go Nagy. And I really, Kingsbury, I feel like they're committed to Kingsbury. I don't know where the other option is. And it was sort of like I ruled out a bunch of guys and just settled on Nagy. Bill probably has a better answer. Or maybe I thought this through and there aren't any good choices. But Nagy is the answer I'm going to give you for me.
Bill?
So my first one that jumped at me is Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer is a really good football coach.
That is a good one.
But he's in a really odd situation. The Vikings are a team that's just good enough to consistently seem like they should contend, but also not quite good enough to actually do anything.
Right.
And you're almost better off being flat out bad in a way, as long as the expectations are low enough, which is why I think Zach Taylor, plus they never pay coaches to not coach in Cincinnati. Too early in his contract, not just in his career, but in his contract to get fired. They don't believe in paying a guy for 2 or 3 years to not coach. They never do.
That's bad business.
Yeah, so you could scratch Zach Taylor off your list if you had him on your list. But yeah, Nagy, I believe, is on the hottest of seats because of all the things you mentioned. But I didn't want us to agree. So I'm going to go and stay right in the division and go with Mike Zimmer.
That's actually a good call.
I think there's a couple of things that now, first of all, he's won. I mean, won, in a way that's been quantitatively said he's won, but nothing satisfactory has happened, right? And they were 7-9 last year. They were 10-6 in 2019. I think he needs not just to have another winning season, but I think they need a nice little playoff run, or I think he's going to be shown the door. To me, no real fault of his own, but the way that team is constructed, it's not a cheap team and it's not a young team. So you don't really have the usual excuses. The team doesn't perform well. You can't say, we've got a lot of young kids. They don't. You can't say, we got a lot of salary cap room. We can be really aggressive in free agency because they don't. None of the things that make you say this team is really set up to be very different if we don't make any other change. And what's the oldest saying in sports? It's always easier to fire the coach than to get rid of all the players. Really, they should get rid of all the players, though. But they will instead do the easy thing, which is firing the coach.
And they got a few unvaccinated clowns on that roster, too. So
they are one of the teams that has a vaccinated on the roster, including the ringleader, right? That doesn't help you.
And he went to Michigan State. He should be smarter than that.
He should be smarter than that. But yeah, and then, beyond Nagy and obviously Zimmer, my other choice was maybe Fangio, but I think the defense he's hoping they're going to run the ball and play defense, right? Because he is your classic old school defensive mind. In a league that doesn't usually like those guys, in fact, Zimmer and Fangio are kind of one's just an older version of the same guy.
Exactly. Yep.
They're really the same guy. So if it works, it's going to be because the defense in the running game saved them. And if it doesn't work, it'll be because everything we just said, right? They're defensive-minded coaches. They don't really like defensive-minded coaches.
Yep.
If you go 8-8 again, get out of here.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. Yeah.
Bill, who's going to be the first big-name player to retire after this season?
I mean, the obvious choice would seem to be Brady, but who knows with him? So I will go back to Ben Roethlisberger. The only caveat is that if he wins the Super Bowl, he still retires, which I don't think would happen. And if they end up not having a great season, he definitely retires. The only thing that would make me think he would come back is if they almost made it to the Super Bowl, even made it to the Super Bowl and lost. That's the only scenario I can think where they were just very, very close and didn't quite get there, where he think that they would, one, want him back, and two, he'd want to come back. So I'm going to go with him as choice number one. Did Larry Fitzgerald turn in papers? Because I don't think he's actually on anybody's roster, but I don't think he's actually put in papers.
No, I don't think so.
So
I think he'll play football this year too, by the way.
Right. That's my only thing is that if Larry Fitzgerald plays this year,
it's a good choice.
I would probably go with him also. But yeah, go ahead.
So we're at it again because I figured a tweet from Ben Roethlisberger's elbow would come out right after the Super Bowl. But I also have to think about Cameron Jarrell Newton.
Oh, wow.
What do we do? Wow. Right? It's one that's making me wonder if either the fact that nobody signs him or he comes to the realization that he's not one of the best 32. He still thinks there's not 32 guys better. And it doesn't even matter if that's true. It's probably true, right? Now, I don't know if that's true. But whether I, on the Sports Crib, declared Cam Newton there's not 32 guys, but it doesn't matter. There's 32 guys that cut checks who believe that their guy's better than Cam Newton. And it's not about talent. I'm a big Cam Newton guy. It's not about talent. It's about he played the position in a way that the human body can only do it for so long. And then that's just it. So can Cam Newton give you X number of plays in a game, X number of moments in a game? Sure. But you got to do it the whole game. And I just don't, and 17 of them, sorry. I don't know if his body can do it. Cam's the one that interests me. I think Roethlisberger's elbow sends out the first tweet, though. I'm going to go with your guy.
Hey, I agree. If it was up to me, it'd have been there this year. But anyway, that's a different show. We can do that
as we discussed previously, James, have you seen that quarterback room? I mean, who in that quarterback room did you think, oh yeah, we're ready to move on from Roethlisberger? But I mean, I agree with you. His best years are behind him, but my God, they have they got to do something about that quarterback position.
Well, I mean, the thing of it is that, even if we leave it the way it is, we still have to fix it next year. So what's the difference? I mean, 1 year.
You guys don't like Haskins at all?
I like Haskins.
I do like him, but
I think Haskins will be, as a matter of fact, I think Haskins may be the starter by game 6.
I do too. I think he's a perfect fit for what you guys do.
Yeah. My issue with him to this point has been maturity. Now, the one good thing about maturity is that sometimes if you keep living, it comes to you.
Yeah.
I hope that happens. He has done some silly stuff. And hoping he stops doing silly stuff.
And sometimes having a guy in a room next to you, a guy you see every day, and not just hear Mike Tomlin speak, but watch how Mike Tomlin conducts business, how he carries himself. Yeah. Maybe that's the thing, because there's talent there. I know there's talent there. And if Tomlin can, and I think Bill's right, it's about maturity. If he figures it out, if it clicks from, hey, I need to be a professional, learn how to be a professional, his talent, man, there could be something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, one thing's for certain, we have to teach him how to get down. He didn't know how to slide, from his last. So we're going to have to teach him how to
teach him how to get down when he's in a strip club too. I mean,
Evidently he knows how to do
he
that.
He can get down in the strip club. That ain't a problem.
Yes. I meant out of camera range when I said
you grow out of it. You got to grow out of that, right?
Yeah,
I'm hoping he does.
The right hand from the wife and a little dental surgery. That's
That's all it takes.
That'll help you out.
Yeah.
Biggest disappointment of the year. Demetrius?
So I could go Lion fan on this and say
go anywhere you want
and say it's going to be the fact that the Rams are going to do well because we've got their next 2 picks. That would be the personal view of that, but that's not really what I think it is. And I might be out on a limb by myself, but so I think the media doesn't appreciate how hard it is to repeat. It's really, really hard because some of it is psychological. You are that game for everybody you're playing, right? You're that game. You're going to get almost everybody's best effort. And the one undefeated forever is Father Time, right? And I'm sorry, Tampa's roster is talented, but there's some guys on there that are old. And Father Time doesn't announce he's coming on a slow moving train. So did you get no? That's not how all of a sudden in the National Football League, it's just over. It's just, and I'm not even talking about Brady because he's kind of a freak, but they've got other players on that team that are. I think it's going to be the performance of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to jump. It's kind of crazy. I don't think they're going to win this out. I actually don't. I think that this is crazy. I don't even know if I should say it. It's too late now. I gotta say it. I love Sean Payton. And I think he's going to somehow get out of Jameis Winston. I think New Orleans is still going to win that division. I think New Orleans is going to win that division. I think if you go back and look through game 12, Tampa was an above average team. I think they were a good team that got hot.
Yes.
And I think their age is going to start to show. I think there's a target on their back every week. And I really like the Saints roster. I still do. Even without Michael, I like the Saints roster. Alvin Kamara is still – Sean Payton's a great coach. So to me, biggest disappointment, I think Tampa doesn't win the division. Maybe gets in the playoffs, the wild card. They don't repeat. They don't even win the division. That's what I'm going.
Bill.
God, you're smart. But that's not what I'm going to go with. I think the biggest disappointment, there's been a team, and by extension, a young head coach that have been, I think, wildly overhyped really as long as he's been in the league. And I think he gets unmasked or maybe his shoeless Ferragamo loafers get knocked off or his fireplace gets turned out. I think the Arizona Cardinals come crashing to earth this year.
Yeah.
And it won't be the fault of Kyler Murray. I think that their defense is going to have a bad year. I think that they're just going to be exposed. Once again, we talk about watching tape. A lot of the things they did that they sort of got away with on offense, people have had a little bit of time to study it. And I think a lot of this stuff's going to get figured out. I think that their lack of a running game, not named Kyler Murray, is going to finally start to catch up with them. Because you can't do that forever. And when you talked about how Cameron Terrell Newton's body has begun to fail him, Kyler Murray's not much bigger than I am.
Right.
I'm about to say it. I don't know. I can't remember what they listed at, but it's a filthy lie. He is a fairly medium-sized man. I mean, like a normal-sized dude.
He's tiny. He's tiny, bro. He's tiny.
He is. Well, he's a tiny football player, but he's a completely normal-sized man. He can get all of his racks, all of his suits off the rack. Nothing has to be
exactly
right. I mean, he doesn't get extra large anything. He's probably a 16, 3.5, 31, 32 inch waist, 31 inch inseam. He's or 33 at the most inch. Probably less than 33 inch inseam. He's a normal dude. Probably wears a size 9.5 shoe. He's a completely normal man, right? He seems like a guy super. If you didn't know he's Kyler Murray, you just saw him at the store, you'd be like, oh, hey, you would be. I mean, if you saw even Joe Burrow at the store, be like, Jesus, he's big. Like, we don't realize how big just seemingly normal-sized football players are. Yeah. They're not normal-sized people. They're enormous people. They're normal-sized football players. I mean, think of a guy you don't think of as that big, right? You don't think of as that big. Like Lavonte David, right? He's an undersized linebacker. If you saw him up close, you'd be like, oh, sweet God. Like, you would recoil if you saw him up close, just, once again, walking around in a T-shirt like, Christ almighty. Kyler Murray's not that. He's completely normal. If you saw him in a T-shirt, be like, hey, dude, right? You want to hit a few? Like, I mean, he looks. And then you add to that, if indeed they've moved on from Larry Legend, though he was no longer a super productive player, he was everyone's sounding board. People went to him with all kinds of stuff that had nothing to do with football. I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about that. Is this a good school? You know what I mean? Like, people asked him about all kinds of stuff. I'm thinking about buying a house in this neighborhood because, I mean, he's the mayor. You know what I mean? Like, everywhere he goes, people are like, hey, Larry. Like, everyone feels like they know Larry Fitzgerald, first of all. Even people who aren't in that area, but everyone in that area treats him as if he was basically a long-lost relative, right? And he was the steadying force. Yeah. He was the one that would pull Kyler aside and say, hey, keep doing what you're doing or don't do that, right?
Don't do that again,
Right, depending on what the situation was. Even he had more gravitas than everyone, including the coach on the team. I'm not trying to be mean when I say that. It's just a fact.
Yeah, there's an exception to, like, it's possible to be a first ballot Hall of Famer and a Bill Carroll glue guy at the same time. And that's what Larry Fitzgerald is, right? And that's a unicorn kind of thing, because we probably, in the 8 months I've been kicking it with you guys, we identify glue guys and we identify superstars. I don't remember us saying, hey, you know what? It's both. Larry Fitzgerald is both. So
that's let's go. Let's see. Demetrius, I'm going to let you start this one out. Your NFC Division Championship predictions.
Okay, so painful, but the Packers are going to win the North. I like the football team in the East because I think they have the best defense in the division, one of the top 3 or 4 in the league. I've already said I like the Saints to shockingly win the South, and everybody knows I am an unapologetic Matthew Stafford lover, so I'm taking the Rams in the West.
Bill, you're for NFC champions.
Wow, we agree a lot. I'm going to see if I can find a place where we don't agree. Okay, I believe the Saints are going to be right there. I think somehow Tampa Bay still wins the division. I predicted that the Seahawks and the Rams will have the exact same record, but I think the Seahawks will win some sort of weird tiebreaker or whatever. And yeah, we agree on the others. Like, I can't pick either the Washington football team or the Green Bay Packers, even just to try to spice things up.
Okay, what about your AFC champions, Bill?
I think the Bills do get it, but they're not going to get it running away. The Dolphins, mark my words, are going to. I think they might even split with the Dolphins in terms of the head-to-head. The Dolphins are going to be a really good football team this year, people. Like, buy your Dolphins stock now. Get it while it's still like a relatively inexpensive stock. That team's heading in the right direction. Cleveland.
Wait a minute. You said buy stock, but are we buying Bills or are we buying Dolphins?
I think it means
I think the Bills still prevail, but they're going to have a tough time. I said they're going to split in terms of the head-to-head, but they have the better. I think the Bills will still have the better record. But people like predicting the Bills to go like 14-3, 13-4. That's nuts. I think there'd be maybe 12-5, but 11-6 to me isn't beyond the realm of possibility. And I think they're going to, like I said, scrape by a win out of that division. But they're hot on their tails will be the Dolphins. The Dolphins are going to be right there.
Okay, but Buffalo wins the division.
Buffalo wins, but narrow.
Okay.
The Browns, Tennessee with the Colts hot on their heels, and the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. But the Chargers are going to be way better this year than they were.
Demetrius?
Okay, we have a couple disagreements, which is cool.
Yay!
Not on Kansas City, but I think I've already bought my Miami stock. I am all in on the Dolphins, and I like Buffalo a lot, but I'm in on Miami. I think they've done some really good things, and it's time for Brian Flores to get his flowers. So I'm taking Miami. Yes. It'll be tight. I think they might end up kind of with what he talked about with the Seahawks and Rams, similar record, but maybe they beat them twice. I don't know. I like Indy. Tennessee's really good, but I think Indy's defense and their offensive line is going to allow them to. So I like Indy, and I do like Cleveland, unfortunately, to win the North. So I like Indy over Tennessee and Miami over Buffalo.
Okay. All right. Now, gentlemen, I'm going to give you a chance to vote here on the air because we have a proposal. Okay. Mike, which is our fantasy sports guy, has had a change in his work schedule, so he can no longer join us on Thursday night to talk fantasy football or about his Colts. So we have an alternative. Of course, you know I have no life. Sports is all my life. So I was thinking a Saturday show where we do our predictions, we talk about our teams, and we talk fantasy sports. You guys let me know, what you think about that. And, you can let me know by email or you can let me know right here on the air. It doesn't matter to me.
If it's early, I can. Oh, that's right. You're West Coast.
Which means that it doesn't make any difference to me. Well, it does because on Saturday mornings I do a political show with the people in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Since I've been doing that since the George Floyd incident. So early Saturday morning, I do that from 7:30 to 8:30 Pacific time. So anytime after, which would be around 12 noon your time.
Yeah, that would work out perfectly if it's right, sort of like the lead in to, the college football games. Yeah, I could definitely do that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Most of us would be watching college football and, but Demetrius, we never know when your wings are taking off.
Well, no, Saturday is way better because the work travel is in a week. Monday and Thursday, and most of the time I get back in plenty of time on Thursday. So but today was a little different. Saturday works for me. You tell me when, I'll be there. I might have Michigan State game on in the background. But,
well, it's college football day. We're all going to have, that's why
we're all going to be watching some games. So you send me the link, I'm in. I do Saturday.
So I was thinking about you the whole time I was at the game, Demetrius. I was like, Demetrius should be here.
At the Northwestern?
Watching Michigan State and Northwestern.
Yeah, I intended to, and then I had something else come up. So I didn't get to go. I had a friend who had tickets and couldn't get over to Chicago, and he said, I can like send you the things, you can scan them at the gate and you can get in. But I didn't make it. I'm gonna make a couple. I'll probably make 3 this year though. There's a couple pilgrimages to East Lansing that happen every year, and the Michigan game could be another one that we win. So I'm gonna make at least 3.
Oh, okay.
So let's before we do it, guys, are we going to start our prediction and fantasy show this Saturday or next Saturday?
I can do 2 days from now if that's what you're asking. Yeah, you send me the link, I'll be there. Yeah, I'm going to be there. Saturday's good for me. Yeah.
All right. Well, then we'll plan on that. There might not be nobody listening to us, but we have a hell of a lot of shows on
here. What? So,
hey, right? as long as we enjoy ourselves, right?
Exactly. That's what it's about. Camaraderie, fellowship with my brothers.
We got unlimited streaming. I'm in trouble. So
all your hours. We use all your hours.
Hey. All right, guys. Well, we'll hold our predictions off for Saturday, but we do have another couple questions. I can always find something to talk about. Which quarterback has the most passing yards this Sunday in the Kansas City versus Mistake on the Lake? Demetrius, you want to start down?
Yeah. So I want to make sure it's clear that in no way, shape, or form am I at all suggesting that Baker Mayfield is better than Patrick Mahomes, right? That is not. But passing yards is sometimes indicative of the conditions of the game. And I could see Kansas City being up 3 touchdowns at some point in this game and Cleveland having to throw the football. He will have to throw the football. So I could see a world where Baker Mayfield has more passing yards. But in that world, Kansas City still wins the football game, and Patrick Mahomes is still better than Baker Mayfield. So I'm answering your question. I think Baker will. They'll have to throw to stay in the game. I think Kansas City has balance, and Mahomes could easily throw for 450 if that's what allows. Cleveland has a good pass rush, so I think they'll balance it out. They'll run the ball and pass. So I'll go Baker, but making it clear that it is because they'll be chasing.
Bill?
I'm going to go with Patrick LeVon Mahomes because I don't trust the Chiefs to run the football. I think that the Chiefs' version of the running game will be short passes.
Oh, you don't trust that they will, not that they can. They just won't.
Right. Well, that's a little bit of both. And I think the Browns will run the football quite a bit, even when they're behind, unless they get way, way behind. I think they'll still run the ball because, one, I think it'll be the thing that's working best for them. And two, look at their running game. I mean, they really have a terrific, dynamic running game. Their offensive line is tremendous at run blocking. And they have 2 top 15, top 12, top 11, top 9, maybe even running backs. I mean, Chubb and Hunt. I mean, it would be almost professional malpractice for them not to run the ball more than the Chiefs, quite frankly, because the Chiefs kind of stink at it, and the Browns are great at it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Bill, now remember I said quarterback. We're talking about the quarterback position here, not the team. Which quarterback has the most rushing yards? Patrick Mahomes or Baker Mayfield?
Now, this is a more challenging question.
It is.
So I'll go as far as to say this. I wouldn't be shocked if Patrick LeVon Mahomes is actually the leading rusher for the Chiefs in the game. I hope I'm wrong, but it wouldn't shock me if he was. So I'm going to go with him because, once again, I think that you're going to see a lot of deep coverage for good reasons. I think their linebackers are going to be taking deep drops. I think their safeties are going to be playing, where they can see what's going on in the other field in front of them, but, far enough away that Tyreek Hill is going to run past them. The thing about playing against the Chiefs is it changes all the stuff. Like, you play them so differently than play every other team you play, even in a passing league. Their passing game is so explosive. So, I mean, you think you've prepared for it, and then somehow, there's almost no preparing for it. Like, why do we bother watching all this tape when they still do this to us? So, as a safety, you're not going to be involved in the run game because, one, the Chiefs don't run the football, and two, you're worried about Tyreek Hill running past you, or Kelsey catching the ball in front of you and steamrolling you, or all the things that could happen. So, there's all these. There's no good things that happen to you when you're a safety playing the Chiefs. So, I think that there's going to be some wide open spaces for Mahomes to go running around if he wants to. He could have, even if he only rushes the ball 3 or 4 times, he could easily have 60 yards. So, yeah, I'm going to go with him.
Demetrius?
Yeah, everything he said. So I think he's right. The opportunities will be there. And for all the things he said, right? Cleveland's going to run the ball with their running backs, right? They're not going to. There will be plays that are just available for Patrick Mahomes to scramble for 12 or 15 yards. There'll be multiples of those plays in the game for everything he said, because more than anything, and oh, by the way, all that being said, there's still going to be 2 plays in that game where Tyreek Hill will catch a ball and nobody will be within 5 yards of him, and you'll be like, what is happening? He'll still be wide open. That's how creative that they use the entire field in that passing game. And sometimes that's going to be so many guys dropping back in coverage, Mahomes will be able to like moonwalk for 8. And that's going to happen 3 or 4 times. So for all the reasons Bill pointed out, I think it's Mahomes for sure.
Let's see. Since both of you are so high on the Saints, little running back comparison here. Who gets the most passing yards, Aaron or Alvin? Demetrius?
Hold on. So
wait, what?
The question is passing yards, or you mean Jameis or Aaron Rodgers? Or are we talking about Kamara?
No. I'm talking about Kamara or Aaron Jones.
Oh, Aaron Jones. Okay, other Aaron. All right, gotcha. So receiving yards, running back is what we're talking about.
Yeah, right.
I'm always picking Alvin Kamara in receiving yards for a running back. I could give you 10 minutes on why, but you could just, as somebody once said, Google me. That's what Alvin Kamara does. He's going to get 8 targets. Right. I don't know. Aaron Jones will get a screen pass or 2 or 3 screen passes. There are plays where Alvin Kamara is the number one progression, is number one in the progression. They're designed. Any choice where we're talking about receiving yards on the strength of targets and catches. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. I could look them up. My guess is Alvin Kamara's targets and probably catches dwarf Aaron Jones's. Even if you ratio it by games played or plays, whatever, Alvin Kamara is a critical part of their passing game. That's what I'm trying to say in a much shorter way. So that answer is almost anybody. That answer is going to be Alvin Kamara. Although Aaron Jones is really good, probably a better rusher, and certainly will have an impact on the game. The question is who gets the most passing yards? My answer will always be Alvin Kamara.
Bill, you agree?
I do. But I think it'll be close. I think Aaron Jones is going to catch a decent number of balls as well. I mean, those guys are more like each other than people realize, right? They're physically similar. They're almost exactly the same size. Their testing numbers are virtually identical even. 4, 5, 6 in the 40 for both of them. They're very similar players in a bunch of ways. Both were underrated and not underutilized because Aaron Jones got the ball a bunch in college at UTEP, but both were underrated. I mean, Aaron Jones had no business being a 5th rounder, and Alvin Kamara had no business being a 3rd, I believe, rounder. Yeah. Both guys were drafted later than they should have, but they're, like I said, super similar players in so many ways, right? Kamara's just a little cooler. I mean, like in terms of the way he style and whatever. While Jones is an Army brat, right? Both of his parents were career Army sergeants. He lived on Army bases much of his life. He and his twin brother, who also played in the NFL for a minute, are incredible young men. Yes, sir. No, sir. I think Aaron Jones may still follow me on Twitter now. I think of it. But and he actually reached out to me before he declared. He came out a year early and asked, and said, "Hey, you're going to get drafted whenever you come out. If you want to get drafted early, you probably should play one more year because they haven't really caught on to how good you are yet. But you have to balance that against taking hits for free." I think he made the right choice coming out early. It
appears he did,
even though he went in the 5th round. But yeah, Kamara is going to get the ball more just because they utilize him so much in the passing game, at least in part because for those who haven't heard, Michael Thomas is going to be playing for a while. So to me, that's the real deciding factor is that Devontae Adams is going to be there and it's going to catch like 20 balls. Like some stupid, ridiculous number, even though they're going to be doing everything to bracket him and try to take it away. But that's what everyone's tried to do for the last couple of years, and it hasn't yet. So I don't think it's going to suddenly start working now. But Kamara, once again, with no, there's so many reasons. With no Michael Thomas, I just think, it has to be.
Yeah. But we also factor in there no Drew Brees. Okay, so Kamara wins the passing yards. Who wins the rushing yards, Bill?
Aaron Jones. And not by a lot. I think it'll be tight. But Aaron Jones is a guy with something to prove. I think people have now sort of woken up to him being a top 10, maybe even top 8 running back. I think he wants to push his way into the top 4. I will not be surprised if he does that this year. Things that I like about him, he has tremendous contact balance, really good leg drive. And though he's not a burner exactly, once again, neither of them are. They're both, guys that tested almost exactly the same. Like I said, 4.56 in the 40. But he's going to do a really good job of he protects the ball well too, which is super important. He doesn't put the ball on the ground. But I think he's going to get a few more opportunities, first of all, to run the ball because you're not stacking the box. I mean, right? That you're when Aaron Rodgers puts up 3 touchdowns on you in the first 4 possessions, you're not thinking, oh man, we got to stop the run game, right? You're not thinking we got to walk down our safety into the box. You're thinking, oh God, we got to stop this. Like this is an onslaught. This is offensive onslaught of passes is what you're worried about. So Aaron Jones will be able to do some real business, while Kamara you're keying on. That's the guy you've been spending all your time on in the meetings, and you want them to prove they can beat you. Now, obviously, everyone knows how talented Jameis is, but you still want to sort of see it. You want him to prove it. So in the first half, at least, or okay, maybe not the first half, but the first couple of possessions, at least, you're going to have people kind of creeping down forward to take away Kamara as much as you can. And only when Jameis is able to show you can't do that is when they might back out of it.
Okay. Bill, why don't you give us your final thoughts for the evening, and I'll see you guys Saturday when we set up a time.
Yep. So my final thoughts go to Venus Williams. So on this day in 2000, which is stunning when I realized it's 21 years ago, was the first time we saw Venus Williams win her first U.S. title. And she beat Lindsay Davenport, which I think at that point was the tallest title between 2 women in the history of the U.S. Open. Both of them, I think, clock in at about 6'1.5". So yeah, I mean, that's
not basketball height either.
No, I mean they're both legit. They're legit 6'1.5". The 2 of them, they are tall. But yes, it was a watermark event, watershed event for a couple of reasons. Once again, it was a breakthrough for the Williams sisters, and after that they kind of took over women's tennis. But also, it was a watershed event, at least in part, because it not only did they play tennis differently and look obviously differently from the way so many great tennis players look, but they started bringing other people in. Common wasn't going to tennis events. I hadn't seen him going to this before that, right? Drake, I hadn't seen at a lot of tennis events before these things happened. You saw, a change in the interest level for me. I'll just admit myself, right? And I'd watched Arthur Ashe when I was a kid, and I was a Jimmy Connors guy even a little bit, and I became a Boris Becker guy for a while, but I made a stronger connection with women's tennis than I ever have before. And I've been watching, since the Long Goolagong, Margaret Court, and Billie Jean King days. I remember when Martina Navratilova was a chunky teenager, right? Remade her body. I remember all of that. I've been watching tennis for a very long time, but it was a visceral thing, right? It looked different. It sounded different. I mean, they were powerful and athletic, and they, Venus designed her own outfits and designed outfits for her sister, and it was tennis was new. Is the way to put it. Tennis had been a very old sport, and it felt old, and then all of a sudden, women's tennis felt new in a way it had never felt new before. It's several 100-year history. So I want to definitely celebrate the very important watershed event of her winning her first title at the U.S. Open on this day in 2021. 2000. Sorry.
Just to put it on the record, how many days of the U.S. Open have you watched this year?
Oh, wow. Good call. 0.
I was just asking. Demetrius, who gets the most yards rushing? Jones or Kamara?
Jones for all the reasons. Well, here it is. I'll do it this way. There are team meetings during the week in prep. I'm going to pick Wednesday for some random reason. In the Wednesday meeting in New Orleans, let me do it even better. So I play Madden. I play in a league with my brother-in-law, and a bunch of friends. So on Madden in franchise mode, Bill referenced it earlier. When you're in the week of a game, you get this little pop-up. Your offensive coordinator wants to talk to you. And it's like, how do we prep for this guy? Right? Or the defense goes, how do we prepare to stop this guy? In New Orleans, that meeting's about Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. In Green Bay, that meeting's about Alvin Kamara. So it's a simple matter of where are the priorities. The defensive priority for New Orleans is not to let Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams or Alan Lazard or Devin Funches or Randall Cobb go down the list. That's how you get toasted. You will try your best to contain Aaron Jones. You will implement things into the game plan to try and stop Aaron, not your priority. In Green Bay, that meeting is can't let the dude with the braids beat us. That's it. The dude with the braids can't beat us. If Jameis Winston throws Marquez Callaway 6 touchdown passes and we lose, I'll sleep tonight. Yep. If the dude with the braids go for 200 total yards and 3 touchdowns, I'm a moron because we know who he is. Yep. That's why. It's not a statement that Aaron Jones, and he'll probably get more carries and all those really logical things, but a large degree of that is who's the priority. For Green Bay's defense, it's Alvin Kamara. For New Orleans defense, it's Aaron Rodgers. So that's my thoughts.
And your final thoughts for tonight?
I have a very, very Homer guy final thoughts. Quick, I do need to recognize, Bill mentioned her 2 weeks ago, Althea Gibson was the first Black person to win a U.S. Open 64 years ago today, I believe, 1957. Hopefully my math is good. That needed to be recognized. Plus, when Bill did it 2 weeks ago, I said we need to mention Althea Gibson more. So I'll make up reasons to mention Althea Gibson.
I was 10, but
I'm sure you watched it.
I remember, everybody gathering around the TV, and like this was something, to see a Black woman on TV, a Black anything,
exactly.
a pair of black shoes on. Anyway, that's But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, we have to recognize her for the pioneer she was in 2 sports, right? So I will never get tired of talking about her. But my Homer final thoughts goes to a gentleman born 47 years ago tomorrow in Whitehall, Alabama. And then Saturday, he's getting inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame. Ben Cameron Wallace, right? Not quite 6'9", but he won Defensive Player of the Year 4 times. The Pistons have his number retired in the rafters. He played for Washington, Orlando, Chicago, Cleveland. But make no mistake, Ben Wallace is a Piston. and if you know anything about him, you know it. He's not only a Piston, he's a Detroiter, right? Everything about Ben screams Detroit, Michigan. He is currently like an executive with our G League team. But he was undrafted out of Virginia Union University, which Bill will tell me is located where? Richmond?
Well, it's near Richmond. Yeah, I mean, I think they say Richmond, but it's slightly outside of Richmond in I think Lothian County.
Okay. But figured Bill would know.
Also, Charles Oakley.
Yes, Virginia Union University produced both of those guys. So he came to the Pistons in a unfortunate, we thought at the time. Grant Hill decided he wanted to go play for Orlando. So Joe Dumars says, all right, let's do a sign and trade. Give me Chucky Atkins, throw in a pick. And give me that power forward Ben Wallace you got down there. Okay, cool. We'll take it. So his second year, you started to see a culture change. Defense became the thing, right? And that was Ben Wallace doing that. They won 18 more games, so you started to see this guy's an anchor. He's changing the culture. We were still saying bad boys Like 2001, 2002, we were still thinking Bad Boys. So then his third season, everything changed because a trade brought one of the best perimeter shooters ever in Richard Hamilton, a 19th pick in the draft. I hope I got that right. Could be wrong. As Bill would call him, twitchy, bendy, Tayshaun Prince came in that draft. And most importantly, a free agent signing, very under the radar, of a point guard named Chauncey Billups. So all three of those guys come in his third season. Now you have what we in Detroit call the going to work Pistons. That's the nickname we gave. They used to blow this horn. Dude, going to work. What they were called. So in 2004, they win 54 games, a February trade. Somehow we rob Portland/Atlanta and we get Rasheed Wallace.
Yes.
Now it's a wrap. We get the Lakers in the finals. And oh no, we're not favored. We're not favored at all. Why? They got Shaq, they got Kobe, and ring chasers, Gary Payton and Karl Malone. How are we gonna beat these ring chasing fools? It ain't gonna happen. And then Ben looked Larry Brown in the eye and said, "Not doubling check. I got him one-on-one, straight up." And Larry Brown said he looked at him and he realized Ben was serious. And he did not push it, right? He said he first thought he was just talking. He's like, oh no, he was serious. So, I mean, the stats, he was 4-time All-Star, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, 6-time All-Defense, 5-time All-NBA, all that stuff. Rebounding leader a couple times. More importantly, he's the most unlikely Hall of Famer ever, right? This league recognizes certain things, none of which he did. I'm not gonna tell you. I didn't mention his free throw shooting percentage. I didn't mention his like 7.2 points a game or whatever that number is. That's why it's so special. And for people in Detroit, Michigan, this is perfect. This is us. He did the work. He put in the work. And Ben Wallace, if you could, he dominated games. I am not a person who cares that much about scoring. The Pistons used to win games holding teams to 78 points. They won a playoff game against the Pacers, 81-76. Right. I thought it was a beautiful game. Today, they wouldn't put that game on TV, right? The most unlikely Hall of Famer ever. From his background, how he came into the league, the way he played, his demeanor. I think he's our dude. He goes to the draft lottery this year as our good luck charm. Guess what? We win the lottery. Thank you. Welcome to Detroit, Cade Cunningham. I'm a big Ben Wallace guy. I love his story. I love the dude. He is Detroit through and through. And so happy birthday and congratulations. In back-to-back days, he celebrates his birthday and he goes into the Hall of Fame. That's awesome. If you don't love Ben Wallace, you should go get a therapist because he's everything you should love about the underdog sports. And as a Detroiter, he is a Detroiter. I know he's from Alabama. He went to school in Virginia. Ben Wallace is Detroit. So happy birthday and congrats.
See, I was the old guy that, complained when everybody started scoring over 100 points. I love those games, like you say, it's 81 to 60 something, or,
yes.
There was a thing called defense, and now I've lost it in basketball and football. So, the world is getting hard on it.
And truly, that 04 Piston team was the last team in the last team that league has seen. Yep. Right? There was no big three. There was no big anything. All those guys were underrated superstars.
Right. There wasn't even a big one.
There wasn't a big one, right?
Yeah.
That was a team, and it was beautiful to watch, and it was a perfect mesh of the way a team played, their players, and the city they played in. It all meshed. That team, the Bad Boys will always be the team that represented. But the going to work Pistons of 2003 through 2006, man, they were fun to watch.
All right, guys. Well, hey, we'll be back on Saturday. We'll do our fantasy football, and we'll also do our predictions for Sunday. So have a good night. And hey, even when we shorten the show, it's not short.
We still do what we got to do. Exactly.
Right.
So have a good night, guys. I'll see you Saturday.
You too, sir.
Right, fellas. See you Saturday.
Good night. And Demetrius, we'll catch up soon. But yeah, we'll talk to you soon, sir. In fact, very soon, right? Saturday. That's coming up fast.
Yeah. Do you need Demetrius's information, or do you have it?
Yeah, just shoot me his email address, and if you know his Twitter handle, because I just want to hit him up about something soon too. But yeah, that's cool.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Talk to you Saturday.
Talk to you Saturday.
Yeah.